Anthropic just announced Claude Mythos, and the moment I read what it actually did, I felt that specific feeling you get when the ground shifts beneath your feet. It wasn't just nervousness about a new framework or another technology update, but this kind of shit where you realize your entire career model just became obsolete in real time. Here's what you need to understand. If an AI can find vulnerability that's been hiding in OpenBSD for 27 years, one that every human engineer and every automated tool on the planet missed, what does that mean for you? I want you to think about your job and consulting model you've been building because everything is about to change. I'm not trying to trigger your anxiety or scare you with clicks. I am trying to get you to see what I'm seeing, which is the massive reality that everyone else is pretending isn't happening right now. Let me show you what Mythos actually did. The benchmarks make it sound impressive, and seeing SWE Bench Pro at nearly 78% is something nothing else comes close to hitting. But benchmarks usually lie by leaving out the real story, and the real story here is much more intense than simple percentage on a chart. Mythos didn't just solve harder coding problems than other models, but it found security vulnerabilities that shouldn't even be findable by today's standards. These weren't poorly hidden bugs, but flaws that stayed buried for decades while human engineers, automated scanners, and entire security teams looked right at them and saw nothing. Here's what happened. In a matter of weeks, Mythos discovered a vulnerability in OpenBSD that had been sitting there untouched since the mid-90s. Every person who touched that code base over those 27 years missed it, and every scanner that ran against it missed it too. Yet a model that just came out found it in days. It also caught a 16-year-old flaw in FFmpeg that survived 5 million automated test runs without ever being flagged. 5 million times the system said everything was fine, but Mythos looked at it and found the problem immediately. But here's where it gets worse. The model chained together multiple Linux kernel exploits on its own without any human guidance or steering. It took existing flaws and connected them to build a path to root access that no single human probably would have seen. And it did all of this overnight. This isn't some what if theory or future prediction, because this actually happened and it terrified Anthropic so much that they made an unprecedented choice. They didn't release it to the public or put it on a wait list, but instead they locked it down completely and gave access to only 12 organizations. They are calling it Project Glasswing and putting $100 million in compute credit behind it, but only for defensive use by companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft. The message is crystal clear. This model is too dangerous to distribute, and the gap between what humans and AI can do didn't just close today. It's gone, which means the real question is what you are going to do about it. Right now, you are still employed and your paycheck still clears every 2 weeks. You are still sitting in those same meetings where people ask you to fix security problems. So from the outside, everything looks completely normal. But I'm telling you, it's not. Think back on the roles you have held throughout your career, like IT security analyst, IT auditor, DevSecOps engineer, whatever. Maybe you finally made it to the security architect, and each transition felt like a necessary shift to stay relevant by learning a new tool or a different framework. This time feels different because you aren't being asked to learn something new. You are actually being asked to become irrelevant. The data is already starting to back this up as security roles across the industry begin to contract. Companies are waking up to the very simple math problem where they realize that if AI can handle threat hunting and incident response faster than a human team, there's no reason to keep the team. Remember how this felt 5 years ago? When I worked with Sonatype Nexus lifecycle during the Equifax breach response back in 2018. At the time, Nexus was the absolute state of the art for vulnerability scanning because it found things in code base that humans would miss for years. It saved lives and it stopped breaches. And back then, we truly believed it was the future of the industry. Now I want you to watch what is happening today, because a tool like Mythos doesn't just scan for vulnerabilities the way Nexus used to. It actually understands the entire system architecture and chains exploits together to build attack paths autonomously, which means the tools we thought were cutting edge 5 years ago are already obsolete. Nexus is still being sold as a premium solution today, but it doesn't come close to what Mythos caught in its very first week. That is your entire career in miniature right there. Whatever specialized knowledge you have spent years building, AI is just about to make it look like a quaint relic of the past. The trap you are facing is that right now, you are a specialist who understands security deeply. But the moment these tools become publicly available, your knowledge stops being rare. Every security consultant on the planet have access to the same powerful AI, which means your years of experience won't differentiate you anymore. You will find yourself competing on price instead of insight. And that is the exact trap that kills six-figure careers. The window of opportunity is closing much faster than you can think. Anthropic didn't lock down Mythos because they are just being cautious. They locked it down because the 12 companies with access are building the next generation of security infrastructure right now. By the time this hits the open market, the entire consulting landscape will have been rewritten, and the people who built that new world will own it while everyone else is just trying to sell it. Your choice now is binary, and there are really no middle ground left. Option one is to stay exactly where you are and try to learn the new tools while hoping your company doesn't consolidate your department. You can try to compete with AI as an operator, but you will eventually watch your rates compress as you sell your time until there is simply no time left to sell. Option two is to stop being the person who runs the security and start being the person who architects how the security gets run at scale. You have to move from being a replaceable operator to an indispensable consultant. I know exactly how 11 p.m. Slack pings feels when you are just trying to decompress after a long day. I know what it feels like to miss your child's school event because of back to back meetings, even when you are working from home and should be present. Those are the golden handcuffs where a 200K salary looks great on paper until you realize you've traded your life for the privilege of being replaceable. I didn't walk away from my career because I was burned out on the actual security work. I walked away because I was tired of being handcuffed to constant travel and firefighting just to keep up with no way to scale my impact. More than that, I could see the war coming and I knew that manual cybersecurity had an expiration date. So it was really just a question of how fast that day would arrive. Only real way forward was to build something that couldn't be turned into a commodity in the next software update cycle. That is exactly what I did when I built a framework and a consulting model that allows people like you to escape the operator trap before it's too late. You might feel like this is already happening to you. And the truth is, you are probably right. Let me be direct about what is actually going through your mind right now. You are terrified, but it's not because you are weak. You see the reality that the old employee model is collapsing and you are exhausted from trying to prove you are still valuable. Here's the truth that nobody else is willing to say out loud. Waiting for clarity or upscaling on the latest AI tool isn't going to save you. The problem isn't that you don't know enough. The problem is that the entire structure requiring you to be an available and replaceable body in an office is broken. There's a different path you can take. And the best part is that it starts while you are still employed. Instead of waiting for the next round of layoffs or the next tool that makes your skills obsolete, you can start building something on the side. You take your years of domain knowledge and the patterns you've seen that no AI understands yet, and you build something that you only can build. Whether it's a service, a framework, or a consulting agency, you use your expertise to create something you own. You don't need Mythos to be public to start this process. In fact, it is much better if you start now while you still have a paycheck and some breathing room to figure things out. You aren't quitting your job yet. You are simply building your escape route. In practice, this means you start small by helping a friend with a security posture or documenting a framework that actually works. You build something that solves a problem you've been frustrated with for years, and then you test it to see if people will actually pay for it while your salary still covers the rent. The people who move the fastest and actually escape the operator trap are the ones who don't wait for permission or a perfect certification. They start with exactly what they know right now, and they allow the business to evolve from there. The 6 week AI accelerator is the exact tactical blueprint I used to escape that trap myself. When that Sunday night dread wouldn't go away and I realized the golden handcuffs were getting tighter, I built a framework and tested it until I found what worked. Now I have packaged that entire process, and so you don't have to spend a whole year trying to figure things out all by yourself. This isn't just another course. It's a proven escape route from being a replaceable operator to someone who owns their own business. You can have leverage and finally be the person who doesn't wake up on Monday wondering if their job still exists. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow, but you do need a plan. That feeling you have right now, that clarity about what is coming, that isn't a sign of weakness. That is your signal. That is your wake up call. You can see the wall and you understand the timeline. The question isn't whether the industry is transforming, because it absolutely is. The only question is whether you are going to lead that transformation or get buried under it. Check the description or the pinned comment below to explore the 6 week AI Accelerator program. This is how you lead. Thank you.